Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Chanie, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time.
How are you, my friend?
Firstly, how are you? Yes.
I'm good.
So when I had reached out to do the podcast, I'm like, and I'd done this with Evelyn also, I'm like, I don't want our usual conversations that we do because they exist already, for posterity everywhere, and they can kind of go and find, what Beth talks about and all of that kind of stuff. I wanted to do something different where we share a little bit more of the humanity side of our own personal leadership journeys. I think it's important for people to witness how we lead when we're going through our own storms, which is kind of all the time, even though we don't show it. So anyways, what are your thoughts on that? I thought that could be something different and interesting.
Well, that's interesting because I thought that's exactly what we would talk about.
Okay, good. So when we're in positions of leadership where we're leading leaders, right? Where a lot of people are who listen to the show, but you and I have been friends for many, many years. I love the fact that our friendship gets to be taken offline and we get to actually meet each other at events, and I get to hug you in real life. And then we also get to connect on just texting, and you send me pictures of your new grandson. And just, I love that we've gone from colleagues who were just, talking about business to just this friendship that really has just really enriched my life and just been a lot of soul medicine for me. So I just want to start off with that, actually, to you, Beth. And when people watch people in public arenas, right? And as much as I try to tell myself like, oh, I have a little bit of a private life. And the bottom line is I am in a public eye. I am in a public arena. People do see me. They see you. You get on stages. I get on stages. We're online. Like, we have a little bit of a public presence. And there's a certain way that we show up in public, and the way that we present ourselves and the way we come up on stages and all of that. And that doesn't discount, or it's not inauthentic with what we're dealing with on the map of our own soul. And so I really want to dive into unpacking that you can show up with a smile, a real smile. You're not faking it. It's a genuine smile. It's happy. It's connected. You're excited to be there. And at the same time, you can be battling one of the hardest seasons of your life. So with that, where would you like to start us off, Beth?
Honestly, honey, I feel like the last 18 months has been a masterclass in surrender for me. I call this season my discomfort zone. It started kind of around the end of 2023. I had a longtime leader who was very deeply woven into the fabric of my business. She'd been with me for, 15 years. And her exit at the time, it wasn't unexpected. There had kind of been some rumblings, but it was a rupture, if that makes sense. And so what I did is, okay, I knew she was leaving. So I rushed to fill that gap, as we do, because I didn't have a lot of time. And I know, with leaders in schools and, you've got a role to fill. And I had my own role, speaking and traveling and training. And I needed someone in that director role, but I rushed to fill that gap. And so I promoted up her two assistants to be co-directors. And neither one of them were fully ready to be directors. So I thought, okay, I'll promote them up together. They'll have each other. They'll be able to support each other. And I can support them, from the top and, bringing on people that I hoped could carry that weight. And this is it's kind of been an epiphany for me. I wasn't replacing a role. I was reacting to a wound. So, because it was when someone that's been around for a long time leaves, it's hard, and the end was kind of messy. She had some things going on in her personal life. The spinning plates became dropping balls. And so I tried to, keep it all together, and I'm such a systems person. And so much of that 2023, I spent really systematizing her position. So that's all great. And that's all good. And I'm glad that I was able to, I would say, practice what I preach. But as you know, as I came into 2024, and you know this, my cousin Betsy, who is my, person in my life, was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And little did I know I didn't know hardly anything about ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. It is 100% terminal and 100% not treatable. And your body slowly dies until you can't move, speak, or breathe. And I was involved in her care, of course, wanted to soak in that time. So I would say that at the very time that I'm experiencing the hardest season in my life, and I've lost a child in my second trimester, I've lost my dad to cancer, I've walked through some hard things. And this one just felt differently because I had never lost someone who I had walked my whole life with in such a close way. And so I felt like I'd lost an appendage, So surrendering through that and then continuing to take one step in front of the other. So my business is falling apart. I've got these young new leaders who are looking at me for support. I can barely function. I can barely breathe. And I had to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And so I call it my discomfort zone season is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah. When we walk through these seasons, I find, so there's so many things that kind of happen, but what's coming up for me while you're sharing that is I heard on a podcast recently a really great quote, which I ended up researching like the full depth of it. But the one part of it that I love is when we look back at life, we see the man, we see the path, but we don't see the fog. And, there's a famous terminology, the fog of war. But the fog of walking through really hard seasons is so real because our fog is so thick. We really can only put one foot in front of the other. We really don't have visibility much further than that.
Right.
And we can always look back and be like, oh, if I was in that situation, and it's like, no, you wouldn't have done anything differently because you would have a different fog. My fog was that was my, that was my reality. So I want to pivot into what I have found when we're in the fog is you must surround yourself with the outer circle who doesn't have fog. They have clear skies. They have sunshine. And they are the ones that can look in and say, let me tell you what the next step is. So can you share as much as you'd like? Who were your outer people that held you during this season?
From a high level, I mean, I have a lot of very good, close and connected friends, business colleagues, and you're one of them. I mean, just the constant, people reaching out. Hey, I'm checking on you. Hey, can I step in and take the speaking gig for you? Hey, can I offer you help and support? Can I lead your mastermind? So there were so many, colleagues that helped. Of course, I'm a business coach, so I have a CEO mastermind that I'm involved in. It's outside of our industry.
Yeah.
That group really kind of helped me walk through it as well, because not only was I navigating the hard seasons of life that I could literally barely breathe, I had hard business seasons to reach into. So again, close friends. I think, Rachel she does what we do. She's a childcare business coach as well. And she was also in the CEO mastermind with me. So I was able to kind of pull from her, kind of walk alongside. But I am so blessed, honey. I have very, very close, longtime friends and family who were able to be there. And the truth is, no one could tell me what the next step was. And I would get up every morning and I would get in what I call my prayer chair. And I would just say, okay, I surrender this day. I don't know what today looks like. Can you just give me strength to do the next right thing? Because I didn't know. And looking back from the fog, I can see, the way that the path ended up going, but I could not see, really, really beyond a day. But from a public facing perspective, most people would not have known that. Because I kept my schedule going. I needed to move forward. And what's interesting, I got a lot of grief from other people that said, you need to stop, you need to slow down, you need to cancel everything, you need to stay home, you need to rest. I heard that more than I heard, you've got this, you can do it.
Really?
Yes. And that was defeating to me because people want to give you advice with what they need. Like they would think, oh my gosh, if I had just lost my person, I would need to stop anything. I could not move through those seasons. But the truth is, honey, and I know you can hold profound sadness, grief, disappointment in one hand and continue to do your life and your relationships and love your people in the other hand. Both can exist at the same time and both can be true.
Okay, I have so much I want to unpack here, but we're going to go one thread at a time because they're like, and for those of you that are listening, like wherever you are listening, like please go back and rewind just everything that Beth said because you need to hear it again and you'll hear something else. But let's pull one of the threads here. So you were talking about how a lot of people said, slow down, rest, pause, right? All of this kind of stuff. And your path that you chose was, I want to keep going. I want to keep showing up. I want to, right? I want to keep moving. So I want to share just kind of a adjacent thought to that, where when I simultaneously was walking through some of my own things and I had a huge speaking gig in July last year. And I was going to speak at this conference in Connecticut. And 3 days before the conference, I had a miscarriage and I had a surgery on Monday morning and I had to speak on Wednesday morning.
I remember this.
And I reached out to a mentor of mine and I was like, do I cancel it? Like, I'm literally going to be 24 hours after surgery. Like, this is insane. And he was like, honey, you get to create your own energy. You get to decide how you want to show up. And sometimes the greatest healing actually comes from giving and showing up for other people and pouring into other people. And that might be the best antidepressant that you need in this moment. And like, that was a huge flip for me to actually understand. And again, you're just communicating now, right now, like that's what you did also. Like the greatest fight against not falling into despair was to show up.
Yeah, I get my energy through moving through things, and it was so sweet. Donna Jensen, who's been a longtime client of mine and has become a friend too. I was doing a team building for her group of schools in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And she was the first one. And she was like, Beth, you don't have to come. We can pivot. We can figure this out. And I was like, no, I will be there. And I'm so glad it was her because she's just one of those people who are comforting and uplifting and full of grace and full of kindness. And so it was so sweet to be able to be there with her because I knew like, okay, if I get up on that stage and I really like can't speak, I just can't speak, then I knew she would have had my back. But because she trusted me and because she believed in me and because I could just look out there and I could like see her eyes and our eyes were locked, I was like, I got this. And I felt like a kid with a big sister watching me ride a bike for the first time. But, it was sweet. And the kindness of people was really amazing. And so for my speaking business and training business, that continued to go. But I also have my other business, my children's enrichment program, Stretch and Grow, where we go into schools. And that is my team-led company, right? And so while I'm trying to perform and choose like the power of presence over perfection and, honesty over image. And I was honest with everyone, said, hey guys, you're not getting me talking about my scars here. I was dealing with grief, also dealing with a lot of disruption in my own business and having looked back and realizing like, gosh, I promoted these two people up and I made a large mistake. And here I am in the middle of all of, traveling and speaking. And I realized I did not have the right people in the right seats. And when I would speak, I would have to say this because I'm saying, guys, I'm in the middle of this. This is where I am right now. I've got two leaders. Neither one of them are the right people in the right seat. I'm speaking to you from a gaping open wound, not even a scab, but definitely not a scar. So that year, honey, it was truly speaking from an open wound.
So let's speak to the leader who's listening and saying, but I have to be perfect and I have to have everything done and buttoned up before I come to the team. Or I have to, right? I just hung up a call with someone who was saying, well, I can't do this until I finish all the hires of my leadership team. I'm like, yeah. And then as soon as you hire everyone, one person's going to put in their notice. Like we don't wait to go to the arena, to go to battle, to go to the field, to go wherever it is, because the only constant we know is change. So you showed up while you were dealing with everything. What is the message to the person who says, but that's inauthentic? Like that would be inauthentic because I'm still working through it. Like, how do I help them do that? Let's talk about it.
And I would say,
yeah,
you've got to choose your honesty over your image because it's never going to be settled.
Yeah.
Right. There's always going to be something. And the day when everything is perfect is not there. And, and you and I have talked about this. You can look back and say, oh my gosh, it was a horrible day. It was a horrible season. Was it a bad day or was it a bad 5 minutes?
5 minutes, right?
Break it down, break it down. And you just have to decide what you want most for what you want now. And I guess I have a deep-seated belief, and I'm not sure that it's healthy or not, but no one's coming to save me. No one's coming to save me.
Hey, school owners, I see you. You've built the team, you've trusted others with the work, and somehow it still feels like everything lands on your shoulders. And that weight is exhausting. What if you could stop carrying it all alone? What if you can finally see exactly where your leadership is getting stuck and what to do next? That's where the strategic leadership scorecard was made for. In just 2 minutes, it will give you a clear diagnosis in one of the core areas of leading a school: enrollment, financial health, staff culture, or parent engagement. You'll get practical steps and trusted resources to help you lighten your load and unlock real ownership in your team to be able to lead with confidence. You deserve this level of steadiness. So take the scorecard now so you can lead with clarity and know that your school runs on shared ownership, real standards, and rhythms of accountability.
I can show up and I can do it. But if you're the business owner and everything is on your shoulders, no one's coming to save you. And I hope that you realize, like, you deserve a team who loves you. You deserve a team that has your back. You deserve a team that when you have to be away to take care of your dying person, that they're going to continue to do their job and not say, oh, that's out of town. We don't have to worry about it. That's out of town, and take liberties for things that, for balls that got dropped. And again, I had to really look back, but this is the thing. When you have people who are not performing, especially when they're not performing for you, when you really need them to perform, I want your leaders to hear this. I can't blame it all on them, right? I have to look at, where did I not lead well? Because most problems in your business are going to be a leadership problem. And I will tell you that the piece that I was missing was that accountability piece. Like, they weren't taking ownership. I was holding them accountable. But this is what it would look like. I'm going to assign you assignments. We're going to put them in our project management tool. I need these things to get done. And then when I would look back, the deadline would be here. And I would say, why didn't this get done? And I would get excuses. Well, I didn't prioritize that. I didn't make that a priority. Well, why not? It was like, what was the barrier to you getting this work done? And I hear this, honey, from school leaders all the time. No one's doing their work. Everyone, I tell people to do stuff and they don't do it. No one wants to work anymore. Well, I had to go back and see, okay, what was I missing in my delegation? And for me, because I do have a team-led company, I can't be CEO of 2 companies. So I hired a director of operations who worked for me for 8 years. She's very intelligent. She knows me. I trust her. She is so aligned with our values. And she is a processor, right? She's a box checker kind of a person. And I'm a big picture kind of a person. So the remedy was finding someone that I could bring into my business who I trusted, who I knew was aligned with my values, aligned with my vision, aligned with my faith. She's just an amazing person that has a skill set different than mine.
Yeah.
So I took a big leap, trusted her, and now she's the one that's going back and following through on the processes and doing all the checkpoints of our business, following through on KPIs, following through on roles and responsibilities. So I can lead with vision, and I've got my leadership team who trusts and is accountable to Shannon. And my leadership team, I mean, the good news is we got over that hump. I hired a brand new leadership team in January. They're killing it. They're doing such a great job. My joy is back. I stepped through those hard things, but I took the junk of all of that season and I was able to watch Ashes turn to beauty.
I want to go back to what you said about honesty over your image. So when a leader says, I have to be perfect, or I have to have everything in motion before I do it, it's like the person who says, I can't have kids until I fully heal, or I can't do this until this happens. And I often talk about, just in my own parenting, is like, you parent alongside your kids. You parent yourself while you're parenting your kids. And it's really a parenting while you're becoming, right? Because again, there is truth to, like, yes, you want to heal your wounds and what you're going through so you don't pass it down to your kids. Absolutely, there's truth to that. But a lot of times your healing happens because of your parenting. It happens because your child is there and the presence of your child is there, invites you to become that leader. And so, there's this great, oh my gosh, I forget which movie it's from. The actor where he's like talking to this woman. I have to remember the name of the movie. And he's like, if you prayed for patience, do you think God sprinkles patience on you, or does he give you a child where now you will have the opportunity to practice patience? Do you know which movie that is?
I don't know which movie that is, but I know not to ever pray for patience. Because I know then I'm going to be put in a situation where I'm going
to practice your patience. There you go. Yes. So God says, you want patience? Here's a kid. I will give you the child that will teach you how to become patient. So yes, we become better humans, better leaders, better parents, better partners with our kids through our children. And so you want to become a better leader. You want to become a stronger leader, more discerning leader, more courageous leader. It actually happens in the growth with your team, because your team will start to expose your gaps.
Oh, yeah.
And through that is the invitation to level up. So yeah, just curious to hear just your thoughts on that, because it so mirrors what you walk through.
I think anytime, as people of faith, anytime that we ask for something in prayer, it amplifies. And I just think that God wants us to be reliant, your higher power, whatever you would call your, God, universe, whatever that looks like for you, however you would name that, is to rely on something outside of yourself. Because I'm not that smart. I don't have the wisdom that I need. I don't have the courage that I need. I don't have the ideas that I need. And so, if I want patience, I'm afraid to pray for it, because I know I'm going to be put in a situation that's going to test me and that's going to try me. But I think for that leader who is struggling with thinking there's going to be a day when everything is put together, I think just choosing to show up and be present outside of that perfection. And then I want to say this to you: if you have a leader in your life, understand that, leaders are human as well.
Yes.
And don't expect perfection from imperfect people, because your leaders are going to disappoint you. They're never going to fully be able to deliver. They're never going to help you. If you are looking for, to say, okay, I can't do something because I've got, in the name of, I'm protecting my peace, so I'm not going to do that. Or I need to protect my mental health. What you're saying is that's hard and you don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are hard and I don't want to do. But, just think about the opportunities that you can expand your capacity. And so when I look back at this 18 months in my discomfort zone, I realized there have been so many opportunities to gain clarity and to expand my capacity. And the things that would have crushed me, I was relentless about using them as a springboard for healing. Okay, that person, lied to me, or was not honest, or whatever, whatever the thing was, is I took that and thought, okay, is that something I can learn from? Is that something that I can grow from? Or am I going to be bitter Beth and dwell in it? Because I don't know about you, I have the tendency to be bitter and so I know that about myself. So I have to quickly try to not let that root of bitterness take place, because otherwise I get off track, and then I focus on what did not happen that needed to happen. And then I can't move forward with the outcomes that I actually want. I can't pursue those outcomes because I get stuck.
Yeah, consumes you. There are two things that came up while you were talking. One was, I wrote this book and I still haven't launched it yet, right? And I keep pushing it off.
You and me both, friend.
I know, right? And then one of the things that I was talking about with my mentor recently is because I was like weighing all the risks, and he's like, people over dramatize the risks that come with taking action on something.
Yeah.
And they underestimate the amount of opportunity that stands on the other side of that risk. And so anyways, that was just like that piece there. But when you're talking about faith, I just want to zoom back on that for a second. There is a line that I found when I was, this past year, my father-in-law passed away. And what we realized, my husband and I, was that the way that we were connecting with faith like shattered, because there was this feeling of like, he's going to get better. We're praying for him. We're doing all the things, like he's going to get better. He's getting the best care. And then when he didn't get better and he passed away, we were like, what? Like, that wasn't supposed to happen, God. Like, we had an arrangement. Like, what happened here? And so anyways, we both had to go on like our own journeys of just like reconnecting with like what it really means to have faith. So I found this thing, and I'll just read it here because I think it was beautiful. The reason why God doesn't reveal his entire plan to you at once is because if he did, then you would get the peace from the information rather than the relationship that you have with God.
That is so good. And I resonate with exactly what you said, because it was the same thing. When we found out that was Betsy's diagnosis, I'm like, okay, God, this really hurts my feelings. And I trust
Yeah.
right now on this side of heaven, I am not ever going to understand why that happened.
Yeah.
And I have to be okay with that and know that my hope's not in this world, but I feel you. And so, for those who are walking through this grief, and you and I are here, and these are big things, right? There is a way that you can take the hard seasons and that you can allow those hard seasons to become like sacred ground to you, where you decide, okay, this is a moment in the sand. And for me, I had to stop trying to control the outcome because I just wanted things.
We just have to stop controlling.
I mean, like I said, This is the masterclass in surrender.
Yes, I know, right? Like we all just stop controlling. Yeah, right.
But when I try to stop controlling and just surrender those things, and then begin to start trusting the process of it all, because this is what you and I are going to do always, because we're naturally teachers at heart. When we know a thing, we're going to teach a thing. When we've walked through a thing, we're going to let it sink in. We're going to sit with it. And then we're going to say, what did I learn from this? And how can I use what I've learned to help people?
Yeah.
And be thankful for the people who came around me and who literally locked arms with me, picked me up, and drug me into the next season. And like my team, and my sweet daughter she's one of my directors, and she's the one that just made me a grandmother. And we were so close in that season. And man, just her presence, and me like looking at her thinking, okay, how do I want to show my adult daughter what it looks like to walk through grief? How do I show up when my world is falling apart? Because I want to be the example of the mom that was strong. And yes, she saw the ugly cries, and she saw the heartbreak, and she saw those breakdowns. But what was so important also for her, for me to have her see, is that I did break through and I didn't break down. I had moments of breakdowns, but I eventually broke through those barriers, and she saw me take one foot in front of the other. And it was really, really hard. But knowing that she was watching me, I wanted her to know, like, you can do the hard thing and still do your life.
I could talk to you forever. You know that, right? Like, this is why I'm so grateful for our friendship. It's a deep conversation. There's so much that we, walked around in here. And what I want to really invite the person who's listening to think about, well, actually, what do you want to invite the person who's listening to take away from today's conversation?
I think number one, it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say when you need support. It's okay when you say that you need help, but it's also okay to feel okay that you can actually move through your grief. Some of the hardest things are when we look at people and we assign motives to them. Well, you must not this because you did not that, because you didn't act or react or respond in my way. I think when people are walking through hard things, give them the space, give them the peace, ask them what they need. Mastering the messy middle is hard, and everybody does it differently, and everybody navigates it differently. And so I would just say, we listen and we do not judge.
I love that.
Yeah. I start a lot of my trainings like that. Like, okay, guys, we're going to listen and we do not judge, but you can grow through what you go through. And I know that sounds trite, but you truly can grow if you position yourself to take the lessons, the hard lessons from the hard seasons, because it will refine you. You will not walk through hard seasons and be the same person. And guess what? You weren't meant to be that same person. You're meant to grow if you will allow the soil of that season. And, a lot of times we know what fertilizer is, right? A lot of times you're going to have a lot of dung heaped on you in order to grow and flourish in that season. But I did find that the soil of my heart and in my life and in my relationships was actually really good when the hard seasons came, and when it felt like we were getting dumped on and dumped on and dumped on. That soil was good. And I can look back and be thankful for the relationships, like you and so many people that I'm blessed to have the support of. I can look back and say, gosh, I was prepared in many, many ways for that season, even if I didn't realize it.
Well, this is the best way to close today's conversation. Thank you for joining us. For those of you that do not know Beth, if you're living under a rock, we will put all of her ways that you can follow her and connect with her in the show notes here. Where do you want people to go, Beth, to learn more about you and the work that you do?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Beth Cannon Speaks. You can find my website, Beth Cannon Speaks, LinkedIn. I am in and around this early childhood world. I do sprint courses and keynote speaking and leadership and team building retreats, almost always in early education.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do two things for me. One, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And two, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week. And I appreciate that you have joined us.